Boogity, 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 yeah. Let me tell you something right now. I got a question to ask you right off the bat. Are you in it to win it, baby? Because if you are, you can give this old boy 10 minutes of that time so we can check it and wreck it and we can look into this issue. And you're like, what's the issue, dude? Do I need a tissue for the issue? Nah, my sister from another mister, my brother from another mother. We need to take a look at the topic for today, which is the school leadership that works. From research to results. This is based out of one of my favorite books by the godfather of educational research. And I'm trying to imagine him as looking as such, like the godfather. Dr. Robert J. Marzano with his brother from another mother, Timothy Waters, and his other brother from another mother, Brian A. McNulty. So, in the 10 minutes that you're going to give me today, if you make a commitment to this, you're going to be checked and wrecked, baby, and you're going to look at leadership a lot differently. Or you're going to be edified and corrected. All right, so let's take a look at our subject for today, which is going to be 21 responsibilities, okay, of this school leadership that works. Baby, one thing I love about Dr. Robert J. Marzano, it's research. Look, you got to practice what you preach, baby. And if it doesn't make achievement, if it doesn't make growth, if it doesn't move that needle, baby, in that student engagement, well, you need to shut it down. Now, let's take a look at that first characteristic of a good leader. That's affirmation. Let me tell you something right now. I am a big advocate of the 5 love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. And you know what? I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm going to be very transparent with you. My love language that I need more than anything is words of affirmation. If you tell me that my hair looks good, I will swell up so big you won't even know what hit me. Because you know what? It's like vitamins and minerals to me. I need that feedback. I'm like a lead guitarist in a rock band, making that synergy, making that eye contact with my drummer to give me that confirmation. Give me that edification. Give me that comfort, if you will, that I'm all right. You all right. Now, let's take a look at what that means. Man, you need to have a good administrator that recognizes and celebrates the accomplishments and acknowledge the failures. You know what? Hey, if you want to look me in the eye, cuz, and be constructive in your criticism, hey, and if you're honest, and if I feel that, you're legit in your hesitation, your apprehension, if you feel like I have wrecked it, but we want to check it so we can correct it, then you know what? I will respect it. So let's take a look. I have had some good leaders, okay? I've had some god-awful leaders. And you know what? Necessity is the mother of all invention, and you know what? I know that you're going to be so infused, infected, and injected with knowledge from this podcast today. But I'm going to tell you, failure's been my greatest teacher. So if I have a failure in leadership, a catastrophic nuclear failure in educational leadership, I can easily cast that aside in my brain and completely accept the fact I'm not going to repeat the mistakes of that jabroni. Shifting on. Number 2, a good leader is a change agent. Now, let me tell you something right now. If you have a leader that is new to a situation, you're not going to come in like a wrecking ball, come in like a heat-seeking missile, come in like a heat-seeking torpedo, willing, ready to blow the joint up. I mean, there is something called school culture, and you kind of sort of want to consolidate that and keep that in line. But I will tell you this right now, that if you're a real change agent and you see that the place smells like doo-doo, looks like doo-doo, and is achieving like doo-doo, you're going to blow that mug up. And I'll tell you why. Because you know what? Every once in a while, you got to tear the house down to the ground, baby, so you can build it back up even higher, even stronger. They call that in baseball, that when your team is so bad that they can't even win the games that they need to win to make it to the playoffs, they call that rebuilding. And you know what? Rebuilding is a good thing, because next time around, baby, you don't repeat the mistakes that you've made in the past, and you come back stronger, faster, and infused and infected with the hustle and motivation, enthusiasm. You've got it. Now let's shift on right now to the next big responsibility of good leaders in education. Man, they're focused on those contingent rewards. They have the innate ability to recognize and to reward individual accomplishments. You know what? I'm a big advocate for my faith. I'm a Christian, and I'll tell you what, I love the parables of Jesus, and I'll tell you why. Because they're practical, and I'm a practical person. So you need to hit me real quick with some knowledge that I can apply and use in my own life. And let me tell you, one of my favorite parables from Jesus was the parable of the 99 and the sheep. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to probably fumble and bungle this, but I got the overarching theme, and I apply it in my own life. Let me tell you something right now, and it's funny that I have approximately 100 students that I am culpable of, I'm accountable of, that I reach, teach, and preach to every day. But let me tell you something right now, as you're listening to this podcast, it will take one of them to get lost, take one of them to get off task, to meander off of the plan. And by God, you better believe I'll be finding that one, because that one is just as important as the other 100. I'll tell you this right now, they're all worth it. And you know what? I hate labels. Who in the world is gifted? I hate it. I want to take that vocabulary term, that legal term, and I want to masticate it. And let me educate you. Masticate means to chew. I want to chew it up and spit it out. Why? Because that's a source of entitlement. By God, I believe that every student is gifted. Now, let's shift right now. You have the ability as a leader, if you are focusing on contingent rewards, to reward individual accomplishments. Now, shift on. Communication. A good leader has that innate ability to communicate. They establish those strong lines of communication with and among teachers and students. You know what? You need to be transparent, because now culture. I've had some leaders who could give 15 diddly squats about culture, because you know what? It was a theocracy. That leader ran a tight ship, almost like Joseph Stalin. I've had leadership situations where it's more or less an oligarchy. Let me educate you on the principles of government. An oligarchy is where just a few people call the shots. That's never good. In a culture, a good administrator fosters shared beliefs and a sense of community and cooperation. A good leader is focused on discipline as well. They protect their teachers from issues. They're the last line of defense, baby. And you know what? I think that a good leader of a school looks at their teachers as if they're students, because they see potential in every single one of them, by God, and they're willing and ready to seek and protect every single one of them and look out for the best interests. Now, let's take a look right now at flexibility. A good leader adapts his or her leadership style, leadership behavior to the needs of the current situation, and is comfortable with people not getting along. Look, you don't need to get your panties in a wad over the fact that people aren't getting along. People aren't getting along because you know what? Good education is nothing more than a tango, baby. It's good to have disagreements, because you know what? That's where dialogue happens. That's where communication happens. Now let's shift. Flexibility. A good leader has the ability to adapt his or her leadership behavior to the needs of the current situation and is comfortable with dissent. Okay? Now let's shift on to focus. A good leader establishes clear goals and keeps those goals in the forefront of the school's attention, baby. What do I mean by that? They have 20/20 vision, if you know what I'm saying. They see crystal clear, and by God, they'll utilize every resource they have to. They can fiscally responsibly use to reach, teach, inspire, and light the everlasting fire of the students in their school. I'm so sick of these pansy leaders that aren't willing to put the money where the mouth is, aren't willing to get the hands dirty. And let me tell you something right now, it's gonna just pepper you right in the face. You can't lead, baby, what you don't know. Quit putting these people that haven't even been in the content area, in the academic developmental level. Quit putting people that are geographically confused in that position and expect for them to lead, grow, guide, direct, because the only thing they're going to do is meander through the wilderness, baby, until the next good leader or the next leader that will flop and fail comes along. Now, let me shift on to our next responsibility. That's going to be the ideals and beliefs. You need to have a cerebral leader, almost a cerebral assassin of leadership, someone that is so infected and infused with knowledge. They're crunching the numbers. They have forgotten more about education than their faculty knows. They are a guru, a cleric. They are it's the man with the plan. Okay, it's the girl that's the hour of power. They know what's up. They are in with a great professional fraternity of people who are growing, who are leading, who are guiding, who are inspiring. Now, I'm gonna stick to my word. In it to win it, baby. 10 minutes is all you get. This is part 1. Check out part 2 tomorrow. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Yeah, if you got 10 minutes, cuz we're going to be in it to win it. This is part 2 of our Freaky Friday strategy look at what is a good leader. We're going to be focusing on this book written by the godfather of educational research, Dr. Robert J. Marzano, and the 21 responsibilities of a school leader. We left off in that first part of that episode, talking about the ideals and beliefs of a good leader. I'll go ahead and shift right now into number 10. That's going to be input. A good leader, a good administrator, they involve teachers in the design and implementation of important decisions and practices. They understand that good leadership is dialogue. It's not directions. It's dialogue, baby. Because you know what? The great poet Maya Angelou once said that, by God, and I'm not even sure she started out that way, but it sounds better. By God, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You need to listen twice as much as you speak. And even leaders need to think that way. You don't call all the shots. A good leader is a master delegator. They can delegate. They cultivate kindness. They cultivate leadership in other people. Now, in input, they involve. They are on a mission, baby. They're on the mission of addition. They are willing and ready to add to the kingdom and the fraternity of learning and engagement and that hunger for bettering this planet. Now, terrible leaders, you know what? They're hungry for the action of subtraction. They're willing to cut down any constituent that they have to put them in place, to make them feel inferior, to make them feel like they're geographically challenged. They shouldn't be in education. Well, you know what? A good leader has the ability to light the fire in everybody because their life is a great example to everyone. So I'm going to shift on to the next part of being a great leader. That's intellectual stimulation. You know what? I recently showed my boys and girls in my classroom a little clip from that old show, Mythbusters. I don't even think it's in production anymore. But I got curious one day. I started thinking to myself, I had heard through the grapevine that you could kill a plant by speaking wordy-dirties to it. And you're like, what in the blooming Kentucky you talking about, cuz? Here's what happened, okay? I had to show them this. They had a control, which was, the control in science is, it's what you base your decisions off of, okay? So the control, they had a greenhouse where it had no music, it had no words of affirmation, no kind words, no constructive words, but also no hateful words. You actually, in the episode, the short little clip, you would see some of the scientists yelling at the plants and screaming and barking at them and telling them that they hate them and all that. Well, I'll tell you what, the fundamental principle at the end of the episode was really funny because here's what happened. The plants, they were the most successful when they had heavy metal music. Now, hey, you know, it maybe has great taste in music. Now, there's not conclusive proof that speaking negatively to a plant will kill it. Speaking positively to a plant, you know, good, great, grand. But speaking negatively, we can't conclusively prove that will kill the plant. But you know what did kill the plant, though? And they were growing peas, if you're looking for that frame of reference, that context, if you will. But you know what did kill those pea pods in the other social, the science experiments in the other greenhouses? Silence. Because you know what? If you're silent, if you give no feedback, you will kill people. And you will kill the fire and the desire and the ability to inspire in people. So be cognizant of that. Intellectual stimulation, let me get back on topic here. A good administrator ensures faculty and staff that they are aware of the most current theories and practices and makes the discussion of these regular aspect of the school's culture. Let me tell you something right now. If you find a good educational leader, send them my way because I've yet to meet a good one. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be specific. I'm not going to be precise. But you know what? There's one fundamental principle of life. There is a vote of confidence that extends from the House of Horton to leadership. And if you can't inspire, if you can't motivate, if you can't congratulate, if you can't give me any words of affirmation, if you are not constructive in your approach to me, you're as dead as a doornail in terms of street cred, baby, because you have no respect, in my opinion. That is what you have no authority, in my opinion, to make instructional decisions in the House of Horton, because you know what? Your currency is no good. Your funds are insufficient. Let's shift gears right now. Intellectual stimulation, as I was talking about, man, if you can't light the fire in people, hit the road, Jack. Take it to the hizzy. Number 12, you need to be involved. If you're a good leader, you're involved in the curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Like I said, we have a fundamental trend in public education. We'll take people that have no fundamental idea about what they're leading. You have people that's coming from the high school straight to the pre-K and the kindergarten. You have people that are coming from the middle school that are going to the elementary, to the high school. And you know what? When you're geographically challenged, when you aren't the master of disaster, when you don't know what you're leading, that is a recipe for disaster. Now, let's shift. We just talked about the involvement. Good leaders are involved in the access, in the approach, in the construction of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. They're like the MC. They're like the Dick Clark of the discussion. They lead it. They're the VJ, if you will, if you're the MTV generation. They facilitate, because you know what? They're omnipotent. They're omniscient. They're all up in your business, and they're all up in the business of the school, because it is their business. The kids are their business. The students are their business. The parents are their business. The community is their business. The stakeholders are their business, because they have a vested interest in the production, in the consumption of all things hustle. Now let's shift on to knowledge in curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Now, if you have a good leader up in your crib, which is your educational facility, they are knowledgeable about current curriculum, instruction, and assessment practices. I'll tell you something right now. I am so all up in my content. I'm all up in my instruction. I'm all up in my assessment practices. If you don't have a fruity booty clue of what I'm doing in my room, you ought to hit the road, Jack, because you have zero street cred to be giving me any guidance, any leadership, any direction, because you know what, baby, you can't lead what you don't know. Shifting on, let's get into monitoring and evaluating. Good leaders monitor the effectiveness of school practices and their impact on student learning. You know what, we utilize Pearson Success Maker in our district, and let me tell you something right now. I think it is wonderful. I have utilized it to my benefit. When I had autonomy, when I had authority, when I had a vested interest in personalizing it, utilizing customization to meet the critical and identifiable independent needs of my students, not throwing out this program, Pearson Success Maker, as a one-size-fits-all, baby. Giving it to your kids who are gifted. Give it to your kids who are on the struggle bus. Here's the thing that you need to understand. When you throw out a net that is a mile wide and an inch deep, thinking you're going to save the situation, you give anyone enough rope, what are they going to do with it? They're going to hang themselves. So let's shift on right now to number 15, optimizer. A good leader is an optimizer. They inspire and lead new and challenging innovations. If you find one of them, send them my way, because I'd like to see one. Now let's shift on to order. Good leaders establish a set of standards and operating procedures and routines. I'm not talking Joseph Stalin. I'm not talking about communistic, fascist government. I'm talking about democracy. I'm talking about a republic. I'm talking about communication. Now, good leaders outreach. They advocate, and they're the spokesperson, baby. They're the leader, guider, director, and they're the omnipotent presence of that school. And the stakeholders know who the boss is. So let's shift on to relationships. A good leader demonstrates an awareness of the personal aspects of teachers and staffs. They aren't a robot, and they're not locked up in their office all the time. And the kids, if you ask them who's the boss, they'll tell you who the boss is, because that person's anywhere and everywhere, because they're omnipotent and omnipresent. So they're good master executors. They utilize resources to the benefit of students. They're not trying to save a buck. They're not trying to be fiscally conservative. They're doing whatever it takes, baby, to move that needle forward, to light the fire in these kids. Also, good leaders have situational awareness. They know what's up because they're omniscient. They're omnipresent. They're vested into the interest in the development and the production and the consumption of all things hustle in that school. Last but not least, baby, we're going to talk about visibility. You can't be a good leader if no one knows who you are. If your middle name is Casper and you're too busy doing fruity booty stuff and your face is not there and you're not present, you know what? You might as well hit the road, Jack, because good leaders are here, there, and everywhere, baby. I'll tell you this right now, real quick. In Atlanta, Fulton County Schools, they're now hiring business administrators to help take the load off, to help leaders become more visible in their schools and more implemented into their classroom. This is your old boy, the Bowtie Guy, Mr. Horton. 10 minutes, in it to win it. Bye.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.